Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at Zack's new Easter banner. We're going to take a look at the weapon. We're going to take a look at the costume. Super cool that it is an Omni Arcanum costume, which finally opens Zack back up for viability in the game. The only question is, how much viability is that exactly? So today we're going to take a look at that question. We're going to take a look at his gear, and I'm going to give you guys my kind of overall opinion on this right now, because as you guys can see, we still have Sephiroth's limited banner up here right now, guys. So it is kind of a comparable banner. But before we get into it, let's take a look at the animation. The animation of the weapon is not the coolest, but it is okay. Alright, so let's go in here. We'll take a look at the costume now. I did this in my patch updates video. I'm sure that there are some of you guys out there that are absolutely digging this costume. For me, guys, the whole like butler thing and like the little tail, like for a dude holding a sword half the size of his body, like going into battle, never really quite did it for me. So for me personally, I'm just not really a fan of the costume, like, you know, from a personal taste. Now, if I take my own, like, my personality out of it and take a look at the costume, for a butler's costume, it's pretty sweet, right? I like the chain right here that's going around. He's got the keys. It looks pretty suave. I don't know about the bow on his wrist. I think that's a little bit overkill. Why would he even tie a bow around his wrist unless someone tied that on there for him? I like the rolled up sleeves, the cuffed sleeves, the kind of belt on his arm right here. And overall, he looks pretty solid. The bunny ears are a good touch. I don't know quite about the monocle. It does give him, I guess, like the classy butler vibe. But other than that, I mean, it's alright. The sword itself, I think, is pretty sweet, though. The sword looks pretty dang cool. I like the overall, like, I like how the materia slots are up here, actually. That's pretty cool. It's definitely not a piercing weapon in any way, shape, or form, but it is a cool one. The guard is actually also pretty sick. Where is it? Right here. Yeah, that's actually pretty dope. So overall, I like the aesthetic of the weapon. And the costume, like, you know, if this is your vibe, then I'd say it's one of the better ones. I'm just not really into that whole thing. I've never really been into the characters, like, in suits or stuff like that. Like, I want to see them in, like, cool, like, swordsman gear, that kind of stuff, you know? So that's, like, where my heart is. Alright, so let's go in. Let's take a look at the costume first. Alright, so here we have the Rabbit Butler. First, our ability, boost HP. Honestly, I don't think I've seen a boost regular HP on a costume for like over a year, guys, or maybe even longer. So this is like a very outdated first R ability. It's really surprising to me that it doesn't have more going on in this R ability. Like I was saying in my patch updates video, like, you know, an R ability like Sun's Favor or something where there's HP and something else or more HP, like the 15 points would have been ideal for the 30%. Like, it's not outlandish for him to get, you know, 15 points. I mean, a lot of costumes that have been upgraded when they rerun have been bumped up to that 15 point threshold. And so 30% HP on an R ability for a costume is not like out of this world outlandish. So I do think it falls a little bit short there. However, where it does not fall short is the second R ability. Butler Rabbit Ears is the name of the R ability. I suppose it falls short drastically in the name of the R ability. Butler Rabbit Ears. It was like, guys, we need a name for this R ability. It's got to be like super freaking good. Let's just like choose 3 nouns and put them together. Butler Rabbit Ears, guys. Butler Rabbit Ears. That's what we're going to call it. Butler Rabbit Ears is going to be a representation of fire, ice, lightning, earth, water, and wind damage. All right? It's going to be great. Everyone in the world is going to love it. That's a wrap. Let's go. All right, so that being said, guys, this is a great costume, especially if you're a newer player. Even if you're an older player, I mean, I think that, like, at this point in time, it's basically a guarantee that we're going to be getting Omni Arcanum costumes for all the DPS characters in the game, right? Now, that is a great thing, but it also is kind of a warning sign that whatever's coming in the future is going to be significantly better. So if we take a look at, like, you know, some of the newer Arcanum costumes, so like let's go to Vincent right here, for example, and we'll take a look at his costume, right? This is like a very strong secondary R ability. It only focuses one element, but it's significantly stronger than the Omni Arcanum. However, the Omni Arcanum is great. If you don't have one of these newer costumes, you still have an Arcanum that works all across the board, which is fantastic, right? So this is going to have ice ability damage 30%, attack stance, command gauge, max physical ability damage 20% right here, guys. So it has a 20% boost. Tifa's is the same, except it's earth focused. So I'm guessing this is like going to be the standard for regular Arcanums. And they're going to give each character an Omni Arcanum so that, you know, just in case you miss something, you can still compete in things, which I think is a really good direction for Applebot to take overall, right? I'm a little bit like, I think by the 2-year anniversary, there's going to be like another wave of power creep. So, but it is really cool to have something come back for Zack, you know, for people that pulled the Beatrix sword. Now there's a Wind Arcanum that they can use for that. Finally, that was a long time ago, guys. It was a very long time ago that came out, right? So that's how long it can take sometimes if they ever drop a weapon that doesn't have a costume. Remember, guys, it might be 10 months or so before Applebot drops something. So let's go over and check out the Zack's weapons that I have, right? Like when I saw Sephiroth's and I saw the specs on Sephiroth's and the costume on Sephiroth's and the weapon on Sephiroth's, I was like, damn, this is it. This is so good. I definitely don't think that this banner is as good as Sephiroth's limited anniversary banner. I just don't think that it is, guys. Alright, so let's go find Zack, and let's take a look at the weapons that at least I have for him. I don't have the Beatrix sword, but I think I have a good amount of his weapons, and we can kind of, you know, take a look at how much this will open his kit, if at all, right? So, you know, alright, so we have the fire element weapon, right? And I'm guessing if you have this built at all, you have the Arcanum costume for it, right? So you probably wouldn't use his Omni Arcanum with this weapon. You probably wouldn't use his Omni Arcanum with Pressured Ridge, right, for his ice weapon. You could use it for the Zinogre Blade if you didn't get the costume, but you did get a couple copies of the weapon. But if you don't have the weapon at OB6 or higher, I think it's going to be hard to use it in harder content in the game. Right, so like I pulled 2 pages because I was pulling for the Komodo wand, and you know, I got the costume, so it's not like I would use the Omni Arcanum costume with the Zinogre Blade, right? So and now I feel like we're getting into kind of the problem here, right? I think that really, like, the only viable option that I'm kind of seeing for him as of right now, guys, is that if you pulled the Beatrix sword and you want a costume for that, then it works perfectly, right? Now, this is definitely going to work in the future where he'll have a banner come out. It'll probably be linked to a better Elemental Arcanum costume, but you might not have the crystals at the time to pull on that banner, right? However, with this Omni Arcanum costume, you could wait until that weapon gets on the wish list and then build that weapon up to OB10 and still have an Arcanum for it on the side. So that's like the kind of ideal aspect of having this type of costume. However, let's say you have it right now. How viable is the costume going to be? And guys, I gotta say, I don't think it's going to be super ultra viable right off the bat. I haven't checked out the new Bunbury event, if it's like physical wind, so that he could pair this with the Beatrix sword for people that have the Beatrix sword, then yeah, it'll work in this event. But I just think it's kind of tough because I feel like this is a banner that is, and if you guys love Zack, if he's your favorite DPS, if he's the Zack, if he's the character that you want to bring into your battles to be your main DPS, then this is definitely a banner to go for, guys. It definitely is. But I honestly think that with these banner ultimate weapons that are being dropped into the game, I feel like DPS characters are almost in a sense defined by their ultimate weapon. So if we go over and we take a look at the different ultimate weapons right here. Alright, so we go to Tifa's. Alright, so let's look at this. Alright, so hers is a 3 cast, applies haste, and it gives her a 60-second physical and magic attack increase when the battle starts, right? But it basically gives her haste, which lasts 30 seconds. So she gets a minute and a half of haste in the battle, where Zack is going to get 9 charges of ATB. Now, I don't know the exact math, which one is better. I prefer haste than ATB charge, although ATB charge definitely will have its moments where you need something right away, and there it is. But Tifa's is my favorite so far. I've always been a fan of haste in all the Final Fantasy games. Here's Yuffie's right here. Here's Conformer. Alright, so this one, physical defense is increased, magic defense is decreased. Alright, it gives 7 ATB. The thing I don't like about this is it's almost impossible to not waste ATB when using this weapon, which is super annoying because you cast it, it has an animation, and the ATB is still charging the whole time. So it's like you just can't use it. If they give us an extra ATB bar one day, I think that this will be more valuable and easier to use. It also has ATB boost Arcanum, so she gets +4 ATB when the battle begins, which is also fantastic. However, it breaks physical and magic defense, guys, but not all bosses are susceptible to these breaks. So it's situational, whereas haste is going to work all the time, right? It's going to work all the time, okay? And total, this is going to give... Well, actually, this is going to give 14 ATB in total, right? As opposed to Zack's 9 ATB in total. And in comparison to Tifa's 1 minute and 30 seconds of haste in total. Whereas Tifa also gets 1 minute of high tier physical magic attack up, right? Alright, so let's keep going. We go to Vincent's. Probably the most lackluster of the lot, I would say. This one, we won't even look at the physical magic damage right here. But the next... The main ability it does is amplifies physical abilities, range all allies, physical command, ultimate command ability, damage plus 40%. If you have a weapon that does 1,140%, and then you add 40% to that, and it only works, I think, for the next cast, or does it last the whole time? Also... amplifies physical abilities, all allies. Yeah, the next physical command, ultimate command ability, next magic command. So it literally only works for one move. So, and it boosts it by 40%. It has 2 uses. The charge is 60 seconds. So honestly, let's look at his stream phase. All allies ATB plus 3 when stream phase is activated. I really like this R ability on it, but I don't really think that the actual ability on this really is, as good as the other ones we've looked at so far. Now, we also have Zack's right here. Here's Zack's Durandal, right? So this is going to give plus 3 ATB gauge whenever cast, 3 casts, alright? But then also physical attack, magic attack increase to high for 30 seconds, which is nice in comparison to Yuffie's physical magic defense, which, might not always work, but Zack's will always work on himself. It would be great if this was actually... range all allies. I feel like that would have been the icing on the cake for this ultimate weapon. Plus 3 ATB charge and physical magic attack high, all allies. That would have been super awesome. I also like the interruption exploit weakness on this. So I do think that this is, I would say, the second best ultimate weapon in the game. Yuffie's is definitely good, so it's definitely a contender. So yeah, guys, that's kind of what you're looking at, or at least that's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at a DPS in the game. I feel like they're getting to the point where they're kind of defined by their ultimate weapon, so it's important to take a note of that. Another thing, guys, is that if you do want to pull for this, right? you don't want to not get Zack's ultimate weapon, right? So let's go back and take a look at his other ultimate weapon, just in case, let's just say you did miss it. All right, so where's Zack's? Let's go down. Here we go. All right, so this one is a physical defense, magic defense break. So basically just like Yuffie's, except it doesn't really give you anything else. So it doesn't give you the physical attack up, no ETB, and it only has a one-time use. So, ideally, guys, if you do want to play Zack and you're looking to play him in the future, you're wanting to get this ultimate weapon, right? Which means you have to be willing to, worst case scenario, drop 90k this month. All right, that's worst case scenario, right? If you're going to pity the weapon. That's if you really want to play Zack as a main DPS. Now, there are definitely easier, better other options out there. However, if you've missed the other Omni Arcanums, I really like Sephiroth's, guys. I really like this banner. I think it's very good all around. I'm not as amped on the fact, like for Yuffie's weapon example with exploit weakness, where it was like tied to an element, and I'm not as amped on Zack's because it's also tied to an element. Now I know that doesn't really make a difference because the R abilities are not tied to an element, which is great, but if you're fighting something that's resistant to ice and you're using this, it basically does no damage. Obviously it's a tiny little con and it doesn't really make a big difference in the grand scope of things, but I like Sephiroth's weapon and Tifa's blue daffodil gloves because they are pretty much basically non-elemental, right? And so it really is open to any build in the game. So it really just depends. So let's go in and let's take a look at the weapon itself, right? I don't think anyone's pulling on this banner for the weapon. I mean, take a look at this weapon at OB1, all right? Magic attack 393, deals 530% magic ice damage to all enemies, all right? Also, when Zack's HP is 50% or more, it applies exploit weakness, all right? Potency, 25%. Even if you had one copy of this, it would still be good. The R abilities are really good on this weapon. Support abilities, we have attack boost, magic attack boost, and X sigil boost. All right, if we take it to OB6, 618 magic attack, we have 54 attack, 27 boost ability potency, so 62 over 39 at OB10 on the R abilities is really fantastic sub-weapon, although I do believe there are other sub-weapons that have attack 62 over boost ability potency 39. It might be Ivy Caller, which is a wishlistable one right now. So in no way, shape, or form do I recommend pulling on this banner and taking this weapon to OB6, guys. This is you get in, get the costume, get out as fast as possible, and then hopefully Zack gets some new weapons in the future that open up the possibility more so for this costume, and the ability to use this exploit weakness. Exploit weakness is going to work for him with his Zinogre blade, it's going to work with the Beatrix sword, it's going to work with the Pressured Ridge, it's going to work with this weapon, it's going to work with the Fire Saber from the original half-year anniversary. So he does have options. It is definitely nice to have exploit weakness, guys. So the weapon itself will be really overall good for his kit if you're looking to play Zack. But, for me, guys, especially after the anniversary, and especially thinking, if I really wanted to play Zack, I basically got to go for his ultimate weapon, right? Which means I would have to be willing to drop 90k, right? To realistically play him as a viable DPS in the future. I think that kind of you're locked in on the ultimate weapons, and it's a bummer there's no way for us to get them after they've passed, although I'm guessing at some point in time they're going to implement something like that. I just feel like that's the right way to go. So overall, guys, I would say this banner ends on April 23rd. Wow, that actually does not last very long. I was going to say wait it out. I still think wait it out. So if you're going to go for the Zack's ultimate weapon, I'm saving right now because I'm more interested in Angeal's ultimate weapon. That's the weapon that I'm more psyched about, and I got to be ready for when that drops so that I can guarantee pretty much that I can get the weapon. So you know, this banner is great. If you guys love Zack, go for the Omni Arcanum. I'm still on the fence about this. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. What I am going to do is kind of wait to see what other banners come out before this one is done. If I did pull on this banner, guys, it would be on April 22nd, the day before this banner is done. And just get in there to get the costume and get out. If you're a newer player, it's going to be great. Omni Arcanums are absolutely fantastic. If you have the Beatrix sword, obviously it's a no-brainer. You finally have a Wind Arcanum for Zack, and you know, for me, the sword will definitely be a wish list item in the future. But honestly, guys, that's basically my thoughts on this, you know, banner right here. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Are you guys pulling for it? Did you guys pull for the Beatrix sword? Is there something about the fit or the weapon that I missed? If so, please drop it in the comments so that other people can read it and get more informed to better make decisions. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. If you did, please don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis content. I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.